Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Have you or someone you love been a victim of a crime that's still unsolved? Crime Curious has teamed up with one of the top private investigation services in the Indiana and surrounding area. If you have listened to us long enough, you know that we do not seek out services or products that are meaningless to us or hold no real value. So you can trust us when we say that Corbett Investigations comes with decades of experience you won't find anyplace else. Corbett Investigations is run by a former homicide commander of one of the country's most successful homicide units, has put over 400 people in prison for homicide, handled over 1,100 death investigations, and solved 33 cold case murders. To be real with you, Mr. Corbett had a really difficult time telling us what we should highlight in this segment because he does not like to sound like he's bragging. Solving crimes has been his life's passion, and he has never done it for the accolades or recognition. He has a whole team behind his services that help him be so successful, as they specialize in things like blood stain analysis, ballistics, crime scene reconstruction, and forensic pathology, just to name a few. When you contact Corbett Investigations, you talk directly with Tim Corbett. He is hands-on with every case and can travel anywhere that's needed to get the job done. Corbett Investigations prides itself on honesty, truth, feet to the ground, real investigation work, and the strength to stand up to whatever is in the way of solving the crime. Corbett Investigations specializes in complex homicide cases, sex offenses, and criminal investigations that are old and new. Tim and his team have a reputation for finding witnesses and information that others could not. Although we hope none of our listeners ever need private investigation services, if you do, we recommend contacting Corbett Investigations and mention this segment on Crime Curious for a free consultation. Contact Tim Corbett today at 574-229-8115. You can also check them out on Facebook at Corbett Investigative Services, Inc., or their email, tim@tcorbett.org. That's tim@tcorbett.org. Thanks for listening, and now on to the show. Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
I'm Megan.
We won't tell you what Megan just said right before we started.
No,
Here,
we will not.
let's shake our gree-gree.
It's a family show. It's not.
It's not. If the FCC ever regulates us and won't let me be me, then
Are we quoting Eminem? The FCC
It
won't
won't let-
bother me. Or
Yes.
Won't let me be.
let me be me. Yeah, we're screwed. We'll have to do only private content because
I know.
we would be in trouble. Yeah, I've got all the gree-gree. I shook it. I pet the mouth. We now call him Von Schlong,
Von Schlong, the positive
penis.
bean.
Okay. I have such a fun episode planned today.
Is it murdery?
No, it's different.
Ooh.
It's crimey. It's
crimey.
definite crime.
Well, as you told me once before, this is a true crime podcast.
It sure is. It's not, we don't have murder in our name. It doesn't have to only be murder, but this is crimey. And I know that our Patreons especially like it when we kind of do something a little bit different. So I'm kind of hoping that the general audience does too. I'm bringing us real life pirates.
Oh, I love pirates.
I'm bringing you like Jack Sparrow fun pirates.
I'm so in right now.
I went into some history books here. Like this is a fun one, guys. Have you ever thought about like who was one of the wealthiest pirates in history?
Is it a female?
No,
Oh,
of course not. We were still oppressed. I mean, we still are today, but we were like super oppressed back then in the pirate days. So this man that I'm bringing you today, he's best known as the wealthiest pirate in recorded history and one of the faces of the golden age of piracy. Though his known career as a pirate captain lasted little more than a year, he and his crew captured at least 53 ships that were documented.
Is it Captain Cook?
Nope. He's known as Black Sam.
Okay.
Yep. And he lived as much as he could to the ripe old age of 28.
Son of a bitch.
I know.
It's a hard life.
It was a hard life.
A pirate's life for me.
Yep.
You're gonna have to keep me reined in because I want to start saying yo ho, yo ho.
A pirate's life for me.
Parlay.
See, you're just saying pirate terms that you know of.
It's more of a guideline.
Samuel Bellamy is who we're talking about today, also known as Black Sam. He was born in 1689 in Devon, England. Samuel Bellamy was the youngest of 6 known children to that of Stephen and Elizabeth Bellamy in the parish of Hiddlesley, Devonshire, Kingdom of England. His mother died soon after his birth.
Aww.
And it was actually, she died 3 weeks before Sam was baptized. She was buried February 23rd, 1689. So young Sam became a sailor from an early age, and in his late teens, he joined the Royal Navy and actually fought in several sea battles. Little is known of his family life, and although some historians have speculated that he may have had a wife and a child, there's actually little concrete proof to support this.
Disgruntled government worker becomes pirate.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking
The
too.
headline.
In 1715, so he was 26, Sam Bellamy traveled to Cape Cod, allegedly to seek out some of his relatives there, and according to local legend, it's believed that he embarked upon an affair with a local beauty by the name of Goody Hallett.
Ooh, I love it.
I love the name Goody for a female.
Goody, fun fact, is more of a Puritan title. So they began every woman's name with Goody. So, but she wasn't a goody, she was a baddie.
She was a baddie.
So if you ever read the Scarlet Letter, it's like Goody whatever at the front of everything. So it's a title.
Some historians have actually given her first name as Maria, but again, we don't have concrete proof of this.
I bet it is.
But if you look up Black Sam or Samuel Bellamy and the Witch of Wellfleet,
Is she the Witch of Wellfleet?
yes, this is who they're talking about.
Is it because
Hallett.
she was having premarital sex?
Of course.
That witch.
She lured him in. She lured this pirate from across the pond.
Her vaginal spirits
Right.
called him in.
Yes. If I had $1 for every time my vaginal spirit went awry and called men in,
I'd have $1.
hey, I would have 50 cents. So much of Goody's life remains subject to debate, and little is really known about her. Her age range has been given from anywhere from a lady of 16 to 25 to that of a very old woman.
Like 30.
Of this time in the 1700s. Yeah. She was ancient. She was 32. No, but
When that woman died, she had 2 whole lines across her forehead. I saw the beginning of the witch's wrinkles at the corner of her eyes.
yes, she was so elderly. She had found the fountain of youth
Her
and
breasts had
lived
begun to sag.
she'd lived to 31. So much of her life is very kind of up in the air, but some accounts indicate that her parents did not approve of Samuel Bellamy as a suitor, while other circumstantial evidence seems to infer that she was already married and that Mr. Samuel Bellamy's intent was not to marry her, but to seek his fortune and take her away. Run away with a married woman.
True piracy. He was going to carry her off.
Probably from an abusive husband.
Spoiling her.
He's probably rescuing a damsel in distress, and instead we have villainized her and made her the Witch of Wellfleet. For whatever reason, he does leave Cape Cod in 1716 with a group of men to seek out the vast treasures from the Spanish wrecks of the 1715 treasure fleet on the Florida coast.
Yes, and this is real. Like, there are still people who seek for treasure that hasn't been found or for some doubloons.
Yes.
Like, this is craziness.
After he left the Cape, Goody Hallett found herself pregnant, rumored to be by Samuel Bellamy.
Or Satan himself, that witch.
Possibly. She may have just brewed it right there in her own uterus. It is said that she gave birth to a son and hid the child in a barn for warmth while she foraged for food. When she returned, she found the child had choked to death on straw.
Oh, God.
Differing legends state it was the barn of the notable Knowles family, while others claim that it was owned by Justice Joseph Doane, who had banished her.
Yeah. Those barristers were assholes back then.
They will. Most sources agree that she was arrested for the child's murder and imprisoned in the old jail of Barnstable, Massachusetts, which was the oldest wooden jailhouse in the United States and is said to still be haunted by her ghost. So, and
there's a haunted place to visit.
Do you recall, like, truly a lot of times in these old-timey days, when a woman had a stillbirth or a baby died shortly after birth.
They must have murdered it.
She was arrested for murder. Or gave birth to a preemie that later died. And, I mean, we've covered that. Anne Green, as a matter of fact, gave birth to a preemie, buried the baby, and then was accused of murdering it. And that's why she went to the gallows. She survived the gallows, but still, she went there. If you haven't listened to that Anne Green episode, you really need to. It's still one of my favorites.
What was the date of this?
1715.
This is not long after the Salem witch trials.
Oh, I know.
So that's why
she's the witch of
Wellfleet. Let me clarify. Goody was a form of address for women paired with the woman's surname. So her name clearly could have been Maria because it only is giving us her last name and Goody. The title Goody is used in some of the court records. For example, in the Salem witch trials of 1692, Goody is an informal and shortened version of Goodwife. It was used of married women. So the rumor that she was potentially married to someone else and became impregnated, and then she's referred to as a witch and she has a baby and then it dies. I mean, this girl has everything stacked against her.
Absolutely.
It would be better if she was carried away by a pirate.
Probably. I think she'd be safer.
Yes, she would be.
Now that speaks about society of this time when you are safer with a pirate than you are amongst your own community.
Yeah, put on the pantaloons and be subject to rape and pillage some things, but at least you're safer than with your
where they're going
Christian
to murder
community. Because now you're a witch.
Yes. Well, and they jailed her. They imprisoned her
correct.
for the murder of her baby. Now, her sentence was supposed to be relatively short, but she was exiled from the town and she went to Eastham, where she waited for Sam Bellamy's return. Meanwhile, Sam was soon joined by wealthy jeweler Palgraves Williams, the son of Rhode Island Attorney General John Williams, who funded the expedition. Their treasure hunting met with little success, and they soon turned to piracy, joining the crew of pirate captain Benjamin Herringold, who was in command of the Marine, a converted 10-gun sloop, along with his first mate, Edward, is it Teach, T-E-A-C-H, or Tetch?
I'd say Teach.
Edward Teach, who would soon be famous in his own right as the feared pirate captain Blackbeard.
He's Blackbeard?
Yeah, Edward. That's why I'm wondering if it's Tech. Instead of Tetch, T-E-A-C-H. Either way, if I'm butchering it, it doesn't matter.
Because he's Blackbeard.
He is Blackbeard. By the summer of 1716, Blackbeard's crew became restless. Sorry about my hitting the microphone again. So unprofessional.
I know.
3.5 years, still don't know how to not hit my microphone. Anyway, so Blackbeard's crew is restless with unwillingness to attack with his unwillingness to attack English shipping.
Why is he unwilling?
Well, because they're bringing in steel and vessels like that from his own home country.
Yeah, so he has some respect and maybe recognizes that that's not really the items that he wants to pillage from a ship.
Yep.
It's coming there to do good things, and he doesn't...
From his own home country.
Right.
His reason also is that apparently he wanted to maintain a legal defense that he was a privateer operating against England's enemies during the War of the Spanish Succession.
Oh, that's a great cover for piracy. You don't want to make yourself well known as being an enemy of the crown.
No. By a majority vote, he was deposed as captain of the Marianne. Did I call it a Marine earlier?
You might have.
That was it's the Marianne, and it was a typo earlier on my part. It's the Marianne, and left the vessel with his loyal crew. Okay? The remaining 90-man crew then elected Samuel Bellamy as their new captain.
There was mutiny afoot.
Yeah.
They booted Blackbeard and his loyal followers, and the 90 remaining were like, Black Sam is our man.
Yep. Bellamy then ordered his crew to capture a second ship, the Sultana, which was made into a galley, and with the approval of his crew, Bellamy made it his flagship.
Okay, so the Sultana is Black Sam's
flagship.
Steed.
Uh-huh. A third ship, the Pearl, was allowed to go free with any sailors aboard who refused to take up piracy. So they weren't going to kill them or anything like that, but they're like, listen, you can take this ship and you can choose to not be a pirate with us.
And it went to Barbados, and Jack Sparrow took it over, and it became the Black Pearl.
Right?
I made all of that up.
I think that could be.
But come on. Disney isn't stupid. And with pirates, they have to take these fictional pirates and characters and base them off something. Mm-hmm. And this would be a great one. And there was mutiny. And there were different pirate leaders in charge and then fighting over ships and flagships. I like it.
Yes.
So we have Black Sam on the Sultana.
We do.
With a crew of 90.
And we have the Pearl going free with any sailors who didn't want to take up piracy.
Which means that he's a pirate of mercy, at least at this point.
He actually is. He does have that reputation. We get to that in a minute.
You don't want to be a pirate anymore. Head out on the Pearl, and good luck to you.
I do have more information on that. Richard Noland was made quartermaster, and his friend, Palsgrave Williams, that I mentioned earlier, was appointed commander of the Marianne, and together they sailed for a time alongside the French pirate Olivier Levasseur, who left early in 1717 to try his luck in Brazil, by raiding the South America coast.
Lots of treasure there, too.
So much. In his ship, Postilion. They're kind of like a little gang. They're a ship gang, if you will, for the time being. Captain Samuel Bellamy then became known to his crew as Black Bellamy, primarily because he grew his dark hair long and tied it back with a black satin bow, preferring this over the more fashionable powdered wig that was worn by his fellow pirate captains.
I dig it.
That's why he's Black Sam.
Okay.
Not because he's some badass that is, terrorizing people and should be feared.
It's his hair.
It's because he went all natural.
Like I would assume Blackbeard was.
I know.
I'm venturing a guess it's because he had a black beard.
And probably didn't powder it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he powdered beards, but you did powder the wig. And actually they were clean shaven at that point. So maybe Blackbeard, the fact that he had a beard, but I like that Black Sam is pulling on the Legends of the Fall Brad Pitt with the pony in the back and the big bow.
It's just
actually more Interview with a Vampire. Brad
Interview
Pitt.
with a Vampire. Yeah. Bam. With a bam. With a vampire. God. Bazinga. I don't even know where that came from. So yes, he had this big black satin bow in his long, luscious black locks. And that is why he's Black Bellamy. That's, perfect. I mean, the way we get our nicknames is never as cool as the actual nickname sounds.
No, Chucky, Chucky, it is not.
You had to. Now, according to contemporary accounts, he was a distinctive, tall, and strong figure. So I'm feeling the 6'2", muscle-bound hunkiness.
I like it.
He was well-mannered, and he had a tidy appearance. He enjoyed wearing expensive clothing, especially black coats, and he wore a sash in which he kept his favored weapons for dueling and 4 dueling pistols.
Same, Sam.
Me too. I love a good fashionable belt.
A sash with a long black coat.
And, I consider my feminine figure to be my dueling pistols.
Agreed. So, my weapons of choice.
Yeah. He was described as a dashing figure with his long, deep-cuffed velvet coat, his knee breeches, his silk stockings, and silver-buckled shoes. He kept his sword slung on his left hip and the 4 pistols on his sash. He opted for a more democratic leadership style, and he endured his crew towards him, who often referred to him as the Robin Hood of the seas and themselves as Robin Hood's men.
I like it.
Samuel Bellamy became known for his mercy and generosity towards those that he captured on his raids, and his reputation earned him another nickname, the Prince of Pirates.
Also an early known version of Stockholm Syndrome.
Right.
I will capture you and you will love me and become my crew.
I will gaslight you until you love me.
Oh,
Yes.
God, Sam. And here I thought you were my type. And it turns out you are.
Turns out you're all of my exes.
Exactly.
That was funny. He was considered an adept tactician, which means he was very tactful and diplomatic in the way that he could negotiate for his piracy. And usually he had 2 ships under his control at once. Using the more powerful vessel with many cannons as his flagship, he gained a good balance with the second, lighter and faster ship for coordinated attacks, which enabled him to capture ships easily without harming them.
He had a pirate's fleet.
He did. But he kind of, instead of going in like a pack of wolves, the faster ship came in first to kind of block their way, while the big one with the cannons came up and was like, we can do this one of 2 ways, people.
I'm loving all of this.
In January 1717, Samuel Bellamy and Mr. Williams pulled into St. Croix to repair and resupply. And when they were hailed from ashore by a group of sailors, these men were the remainder of John Martel's crew, the pirate captain who ran his flagship around in an attempt to flee from the warship HMS Scarborough, captained by Francis Hume. So this is a well-known guy with his well-known ships, right? So Martel ordered his ship burned and managed to escape with several of his crew in a captured sloop. The remainder of his crew were stranded on the island as Francis Hume looted and hauled away the remaining ships. So the pirates soon, as all this is happening when they're pulling into St. Croix, the other pirates join Sam Bellamy's crew, who sailed away before the HMS Scarborough could return. So Samuel Bellamy was soon to undertake his greatest treasure haul during the spring of 1717, when his crew spotted the ship called Whydah Galley sailing through the windward passage between, Cuba and
Hispaniola?
Yes! But I spelled it wrong in my notes, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm struggling, because it should be spelled Hispaniola.
Hispaniola is modern day Haiti.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I put 2 extra E's. I put E's where the A's are supposed to be, and that's why I'm looking at it going, that is not the right word.
I know my Caribbean.
You do?
I do.
You're there often, as often as you can be.
And if I ever have the choice, that's where I'll be, and I won't come back.
Me too. The English slave ship was built in 1715 and was considered a revolutionary vessel. At 102 feet long and weighing 300 tons, she could reach speeds of up to 13 knots and was armed with 18 cannons, making it a pretty good adversary. Here, and that, by the way, this ship I was describing was the Whydah, Whydah.
Okay.
The Whydah. This ship happens to be on its maiden voyage and had just completed the second leg of the Atlantic slave trade and was loaded with a fortune in gold, ivory, indigo, Jesuit's bark, and other precious trade goods from the sale of 312 slaves.
Okay. So they had brought human beings from Africa.
Yes.
All the way across and basically did some human being trading for
They did,
all of
for
that.
all those goods. So Samuel Bellamy and his crew set off in pursuit of this ship.
Good. Couldn't happen to a nicer ship.
Well, it is a revolutionary vessel of its time. They chased it for 3 days before getting close enough to fire upon it. One of his crew members, Thomas Baker, would later be on the record to say they spread a large black flag with a death's head and bones across and gave it chase to Captain Prince under the same colors.
Great. So
This
they
is where
raised
the
the
skull,
pirate.
This is the pirate flag,
Yeah.
people, the skull and crossbones. This is
Really?
where it came from.
Was this the first time that the skull and crossbones, the black flag, had been raised for piracy?
That it's documented. It's the
No
first time that it's
kidding.
documented that it was raised by historians.
You don't even know how I'm walking on air right now. I love history, and this is
I know you do.
amazing.
This is Megan porn.
It
right
is.
here.
I'm legit sweating. I'm hot
I
right
know.
now.
It's amazing.
Am I flushed?
You are.
Am I a little pink?
I love doing this to you. Love seeing you this way. Yeah. So isn't that really cool? Like, here we go. After a single shot, this revolutionary vessel, the Weda, surrendered, with its captain, Lawrence Prince, ordering its flag be lowered.
Okay.
Prince has been a former buccaneer under Sir Henry Morgan. With his reputation for mercy and generosity, he rewarded Prince's surrender without a struggle by trading the Sultana for the Weda.
So
They made a boat trade.
I captured your ship that has all the treasure.
Yep.
But instead of killing you or sinking you, I'm just going to give you the Sultana that has no treasure on it, and I'm going to
Correct.
take your treasure ship.
Correct.
This is beautiful.
Yes.
What a diplomat.
Well, but don't you find it interesting, though, that
I'm going to rob you, but you're going to thank me for it.
Yes! I'm telling you, gaslighting at its finest.
I know, but remember, I
it's
told you once
working.
before, in my success, a lot of it is because my grandma told me, and I'm going to use an expletive, you have to learn to tell somebody to go fuck themselves in a way that makes them want to. And that is
Yes.
exactly what Black Sam does.
Exactly. And I find it so fascinating that technically the Weda, it is a better revolutionary ship than the Sultana. It had 18 cannons on it, for crying out loud. But because the way that the Sultana came in, he fired one shot, and the captain of Weda was like, "No, we're not doing this." Just traded, because Black Sam had a good reputation for his generosity and his mercy. So they knew
Don't you think a little bit, though, is that you really don't want the ship you're on to sink carrying all of that treasure?
And all of its people, his crew. I
saved
think
his crew.
Yes, I think that Captain Lawrence Prince knew his reputation, knew if we just don't put up a fight, they're going to let us live.
Yeah.
So we all get to live. All of this loot really doesn't mean that much to me because, it's just here you go.
Yeah.
So, but it was quite a feat. I mean, this is a really big notch in his satin sash, right?
A notch in his satin sash.
So Samuel Bellamy converted the galley into a warship, removing the captain's quarters, slave barricade, and any other features that made it top-heavy, and upgraded the arsenal to 28 guns. He then turned his new flagship northwards along the eastern coast of the Carolinas and onto New England, looting and capturing several vessels on the way. And can you imagine being on his crew and every time he captures a new ship, you're up for promotion? Like you might be a captain of that ship. Yeah. It was the first and standard historical text on pirates. That Captain Charles Johnson relays the story of the Weda overtaking a sloop commanded by Captain Beer, B-E-R, B-E-E-R, Captain Beer, in his work, A General History of the Robberies and Murders of the Most Notorious Pirates. Samuel Bellamy wished to let the captain keep his vessel, but his crew had voted instead to burn it. When the captain of the merchant ship refused an invitation to join his pirate crew, Samuel Bellamy is attributed with a now famous speech. So this is just to recap here. What we have is that this Captain Charles Johnson relayed a story of the Weda shortly after, because the Weda is now Samuel's flagship. Okay, remember, he overtook it. He comes across Captain Beer, and he wants his ship, and instead the crew, Captain Beer's crew, and he also invited the crew to join him, okay? But the crew voted to burn the ship instead of giving it to Samuel Bellamy. So he has this famous speech, and I quote, "I am sorry they won't let you have your sloop again, for I scorn to do anyone a mischief. So in other words, I'm not going to
no
harm. Mm-hmm. When it is not to my advantage, damn the sloop, we must sink her, and she might be of use to you. Though you are a sneaky puppy, and so are all of those who will submit to be governed by laws which rich men have made for their own security. For the cowardly whelps have not the courage otherwise to defend what they get by caverny. But damn ye all together, damn them for a pack of crafty rascals, and you who serve them for a parcel of hen-hearted numbskulls. They vilify us, the scoundrels do, when there is only this difference. They rob the poor under the cover of law, forsooth, and we plunder the rich under the protection of our own courage. Had you not better make then one of us than sneak after these villains for employment? So in other words,
damn the sloop.
Damn the man.
Yeah.
The man is keeping you down. It is keeping the poor poor. It's keeping the rich rich. And you would rather burn your ship to continue with their tyranny than to join us who only rob from the rich.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's essentially what he's saying. So Captain Beer then...
Black Sam is just wormed right into my heart.
I know. He's living there. Captain Beer then replied that his conscience, would not let him break the laws of God and man. And Samuel+Bellamy continued, you are a devilish conscious rascal. I am a free prince, and I have as much authority to make war on the whole world as he who has 100 sail of ships at sea and an army of 100,000 men in the field. And this is my conscience, what my conscience tells me. But there is no arguing, and such sniveling puppies who would allow superiors to kick them about deck at pleasure. So in other words, he is saying, I'm the free man. Yep. You're the one who's not. And you are, you're going to continue to follow the orders of men who will send young men off to war, which think about where he started in life. Samuel joined the Navy and then encountered at the will of man, of his government, right? A bunch of war for what?
Right.
And so that's what he is saying here. You would rather serve those people instead of being free, with us. And there's no way for me to argue with you if that's where your conscience is.
I mean, from the other perspective, he's a traitor against his government, against his country. He's committed treason.
Absolutely.
But what wrong has he done so far? I mean, robbery from people who are already robbing and, trading human beings for items. And it's really interesting to look at it now.
For sure.
Than from that Puritan perspective that they would have had.
Right. Because back then, no. I fairly traded 312 humans for this ivory and what have you. Mm-hmm.
I want to watch the movie Black Sam starring Jason Momoa.
I want to watch anything starring Jason Momoa.
Well, I know.
First of all, most historians believe the speech is attributed to Charles Bellamy, another pirate that was unrelated to Black Bellamy. Okay. It was just a popular last name. And both men operated as pirates at the same time and in the same general area, with their exploits often being confused. Mm-hmm.
So did the other Bellamy do some bad things? And so people might have thought Black Sam, he really did too kill someone.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. 2 months after the taking of the Weta, as they approached Cape Cod, Samuel+Bellamy and Williams parted ways. The commander of the Marianne told Bellamy that he wished to visit his family in Rhode Island, and the two agreed to meet up again near Maine. Bellamy went on to capture several other smaller vessels around that area, including the Anne Galley, to which the captain was given to his Irish-born quartermaster, Richard Noland. So, like I said, every time that he captures a ship, he gives it to somebody. The Weta was caught up in a storm, which heavily damaged it, breaking one of its masts and requiring patch-ups and repairs until they reached the waters near Nantucket Sound, where they were able to effect greater repairs at either that they could get from like Rhode Island, or Block Island. At some point, Samuel Bellamy added a further 30 plus cannons below deck, possibly to ensure its stability. But accounts differ as to what the destination of the Weda during her last days at sea really was, because some evidence indicated that she was heading for what is now Provincetown Harbor at the tip of Cape Cod, where others believe that the Weda's route was a navigational error.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So it is unknown if Samuel Bellamy ever had any intention of meeting with his lover, Maria Goody
We can
Hallett,
hope.
but she did never see him again. But it seemed as though he might have been heading in her area.
It's the romantic backdrop that you want to believe.
Mm-hmm. On April 26th, 1717, Samuel Bellamy's pirates captured the ship Mary Ann, which contained a hold full of wine.
Ooh, that's a ship I'm interested in.
Yes. The captain of the Mary Ann had refused Samuel Bellamy's request to pilot them up the coast, and so was arrested on his orders along with 5 of his crew, who were brought over from the Weda, leaving just 3 of the original crew members aboard the Mary Ann. Samuel Bellamy then sent 7 of his own men aboard, one of whom was the carpenter Thomas South, who had been forced by Samuel Bellamy and his crew to make necessary repairs.
Okay.
Not wishing to join the pirate crew, Thomas South was offered his release by Samuel Bellamy once the work was completed.
Okay.
But surviving members of the crew testified in court how they overruled Samuel Bellamy's decision and forced Thomas South to stay, despite his protesting.
So he was captive.
Yes. So South would later testify in his own defense that he agreed to join the other 6 pirates going aboard the Mary Ann in hopes of escaping his predicament by jumping overboard and swimming ashore to the nearby Cape Cod. At around sunset that evening, as the ship approached the coastline, the winds completely vanished and it encountered a massive, thick, gray-black fog rolling in across the water, signaling that bad weather was ahead and making visibility nearly impossible. The 4 ships in Black Bellamy's fleet was the Weda Galley, the Mary Ann, the Ann Galley, and the Fisher lost sight of one another. The Ann Galley, commanded by Richard Noland, and Fisher moved out to the sea and eventually made it to a different island despite having heavy damage.
And we're off the coast of New England. I mean, they're by Cape Cod.
They are. And that is what the question is. Like, was it a navigational error? Why were we coming here? What's happening? At midnight on April 26th, 1717, the Weda was swept up in a violent nor'eastern storm off
winds.
Cape Cod.
Okay.
And it was driven into the sandbar in 16 feet of water, some 500 feet from the coast in what is now Wellfleet, Massachusetts.
Okay.
At midnight, the masts snapped and drew the heavy loaded ship into 30 feet of water, where she violently capsized and quickly sank.
Okay.
Samuel Bellamy and all but 2 of the Weda's 145-man crew were lost at sea, along with 4.1 tons of silver, gold dust, and jewelry, which had been divided equally into 180 50-pound sacks and then stored in between the ship's decks. By the morning, hundreds of Cape Cod's notorious wreckers, known locally as mood cussers, were already plundering the cargo.
Okay. It's probably washing up on shore and they're taking boats out and like getting all this shit, right?
Yes.
Because it's stuck on a sandbar in about 30 feet of water.
Yes. And so 145, only 2 men survived. All right.
And Black Sam wasn't one of them.
So Black Sam and 145 men were lost. Upon hearing of the shipwreck, Governor Samuel Shute dispatched Captain Cyprian Southwick, a local cartographer and salvager, to recover money, bullion, treasure, goods, and merchandise taken out of the ship. So they do. On May 3rd, Cyprian, that's a weird name, Captain Cyprian. Mm-hmm. Captain Cyprian Southwick reached the site and found that part of the ship was still visible, breaching the water's surface, but that most of the wreckage had been scattered along more than 4 miles of shoreline. From a map of the wreck that was made by Cyprian Southwick, it is known that 102 bodies were recorded as having washed ashore over a 4-mile length of coast and were buried by the town coroner, leaving 41 bodies unaccounted for. And it's unknown if Black Bellamy was amongst those accounted for or if his body remained with the sunken wreck of the Weda.
In Davy Jones' locker.
Uh-huh.
Or
and
did
also,
he escape and find his witch and go off to be a different pirate somewhere else?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
The Dread Pirate Robert's Princess Bride.
But I think that pirates do go down with their ships too. He's a captain.
What if he was washed ashore?
Still a captain. Can we just pause for a minute and recognize living around there how awful it had to have been to have 102 bodies washing ashore amongst a 4-mile radius?
The consolation prize is that there was treasure washing up there with them.
That's true. Like, that guy is really sad. But
I mean,
look at this gold doubloon.
I'm going to take a walk on the beach that day.
You are. I know. For
Other
a lot of
people
reasons.
are like, those aren't beached whales. I'm not going outside. This is disgusting. And I'm like, let me grab my flip-flops.
You made it into a song. Anyway, as per the agreement, Palsgrave Williams waited for Samuel Bellamy at their rendezvous because they parted ways because Palsgrave was going to go see his family.
Yep.
In Rhode Island.
And gets to survive as a result.
He did, because when he failed to show, Palsgrave realized what had happened and sailed south, for crying out loud. I need more coffee.
Did he sail south?
I said south. Well, you know what's even worse? He went to Nassau. So I'm trying to say sailed south to Nassau.
Wow. Okay. So he gets the hell out of Dodge and goes down to the Bahamas.
He did. He goes to the Bahamas, and he's in the Marianne. He was given the Marianne. So he would go to join the crew of French pirate Oliver Lessever, who I mentioned earlier. And he actually became his quartermaster.
Okay.
So
it's like the weapons master, by the way.
Yeah. Yes.
That's cool.
Only 2 of the Weda's crew survived. 16-year-old Mosquito. That's his name. I'm not mispronouncing it.
Oh, I love it.
It's Mosquito. It's Miskito. It's Mosquito.
Oh, that's so funny.
His name was Mosquito Indian John Julian, the ship's pilot.
I love this name.
And Welsh carpenter Thomas Davis. And they had made it to the beach alive. That same night, the Mary Ann was also wrecked several miles south of where the Weda at Pochette Island.
Wait, I thought the Mary Ann made it all the way to the Bahamas. Or he set out for the Bahamas.
No, the Mary Ann, remember, it suffered damage.
Oh, okay.
But it made it, okay?
All right.
So all of those crew, did survive. All 9 of the survivors from the 2 ships were quickly captured by Justice Joseph Doane and his posse and taken to Barnstable. I am struggling. I'm going to have so much editing in this case because I can't say words.
I'm just making them up.
Yeah, Barnstable.
You really think that our listening public is out here correcting us with pirate lore?
Pirate names?
People that live in New England are like, you guys.
For sure. You have really messed this up. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that Justice Joseph Doane, I mentioned him earlier.
You did.
Because the rumor is that Goody Hallett had been staying in his barn, like hiding there with Samuel's
son,
child, okay? And that she had been captured by him and thrown in jail. I don't know if you're paying attention to the years here, but Black Sam was only a captain and a pirate for a year, less than a year.
Oh, okay.
From 1716 to 1717.
Because you had mentioned to me that he died at the ripe old age of 28, but he didn't become a pirate until he was 26.
He became a captain of a ship at 26. That's when he came to America.
Right. Oh, God.
He sailed over to America. He became a pirate, though, 1716. Met up when he came to America, on the New England's coast here. He meets Goody Marie Hallett there, has an affair. She's pregnant. She has enough time to give birth.
Okay.
He's out pirating, getting ships, then gets in this wreckage. And his crew members that survive, both from the Mary Ann and from the Weda, there are 7 men in total. They are captured by Justice Joseph Doan, and they are prosecuted and sentenced to death.
For piracy.
Yes, for
Treason.
piracy. Yes.
Okay.
So that is where it's all like connecting with his lover, in that she was possibly captured by Justice Joseph Doan as well. And
why?
Although her sentence was allegedly light,
because she was just banished.
Mm-hmm, they banished her from town, but there's still lore that she haunts that prison, that she died there.
Yeah, she's
and
the
that
witch.
that she haunts there. So anyway, yeah, they were sentenced to. They were found guilty and they were sentenced to death. But then King George issues a pardon to all pirates the previous month in September, and he arrived in Boston 3 weeks too late.
Oh my God, he issued a pardon? They killed him anyway?
He arrived to actually issue it 3 weeks after these crew members had been sentenced to death. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, I wonder why he issued the pardon. Historically, I want to look that up at some point.
The carpenters Thomas Davis and Thomas South, who had been essentially forced by Sam Bellamy and had to choose a life of piracy or death, were tried separately, just so you know. The court believed their testimony that they had been forced into piracy, and they were acquitted of all charges and spared the gallows. So John Julian the Indian was not tried, but was instead sold into slavery to the great-grandfather of John Quincy Adams, and was later hanged some 16 years later.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He reportedly made numerous attempts to escape and once killed a bounty hunter sent to apprehend him. He was executed in March of 1733, and on November 15th, 1717, the 6 condemned men were accompanied by the famous Puritan minister Cotton Mather as they were rowed across Boston Harbor to Charlestown. All 6 had confessed to their crimes and repented, but all were hanged for piracy.
So this is interesting. The proclamation reads, "We do hereby promise and declare that in case any of the said pirates shall, on or before the 5th day of September in the year of our Lord 1718, surrender him or themselves to one of our principal secretaries of state in Great Britain or Ireland, or to any governor or deputy governor of any of our plantations or dominions beyond the seas, every such pirate and pirate so surrendering him and themselves as foresaid shall have our gracious pardon of, for such his or their piracy or piracies by him or them committed before the 5th day of January next ensuing." And this is known as the 1717 to 1718 Acts of Grace. This proclamation for suppressing of pirates, also known simply as the Act of Grace, though not an act of Parliament, was a royal proclamation issued by George I of Great Britain on September 5, 1717. It promised a pardon for acts of piracy, and posted in like all kinds of newspapers, the London Gazette.
Yes.
So it doesn't really give a lot of reason, other than I did make a note here at some point that they recognized that a lot of individuals had been forced into piracy.
Yes.
And so they were giving them the opportunity to turn themselves in, to pardon them for something that they never willingly became involved with. And you mentioned that when you were talking about
the Thomases, Thomas
Correct.
Davis and Thomas South. They were the carpenters that were forced to go do the work on one of the ships that needed repairs that they overtook.
Oh,
so yeah,
it would be a 4-part episode.
I know, it's so trying to sum it all into a regular episode was hard, but it was so much fun to research. So you mentioned that was like September 5th, 1717 that he put that pardon out. Well, the men who were not forced into piracy, that admitted their crimes, they were found guilty and sentenced to death on October 17th, 1717. But remember, guys, news doesn't travel like it does today. The King George had to actually come over with his pardon for it to go into effect, and it happened 3 weeks too late.
Jesus.
Okay? So, yes, but those Thomas Davis and Thomas South, the court believed their recollection, their story, that they were forced into piracy and they were pardoned and allowed to live. Let's talk about some things that were recovered from the wreck of the Weda.
Okay. I like treasure.
In 1984, underwater...
1984?
Yes. So this is 40 years ago. Okay.
Oh, God. My aging heart. Don't say that.
Yes, I was not one yet. Underwater archaeological explorer Barry Clifford located the Waida's wreck after relying heavily on, remember I mentioned earlier, Southac's map that he drew? What was his name? Cyprin? His 1717 map of the wreckage site. Can you imagine being an archaeological explorer and having this 1717 map?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can imagine it. It's just exhilarating all the way around.
He had basically used it as a modern-day pirate treasure map, leading him to what would be an archaeological find of unprecedented importance. The Waida had believed to have been lost for the past 260 years, but was eventually found under just 14 feet of water and 5 feet of sand. Think about that in terms, you guys, 260 years and it's just hanging out under 14 feet of water.
Beachgoers are totally partying on top of that in 84.
Yes, they are. A period of extensive underwater archaeology followed, with more than 200,000 individual pieces retrieved from the wreckage. One of the most significant finds came in the fall of 1985 when the ship's bell, inscribed with the words, "The Waida Galley 1716." It then became the only fully verified and authenticated pirate shipwreck of the golden age of piracy that had finally been discovered. In February 2018, it was believed that the possible remains of Samuel Black Sam Bellamy had been found near the wreck of his ship. The body was located next to a pistol identified as belonging to Samuel Bellamy, and DNA tests were conducted against that of a living relative for confirmation. By May 2018, it was reported that the remains were those of Eastern European descent and are not of those of Black Bellamy, whose body remains claimed by the sea.
Okay. But they did find descendants of one of the pirates that was found.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Eventually, Mr. Clifford founded the Waida Pirate Museum, located on Macmillan Wharf in Provincetown, Massachusetts, where it is dedicated to Samuel Bellamy and to the Waida, and houses many of the artifacts that were salvaged from the wreck, such as a cannon found stuffed with gold, precious stones, and other artifacts. Now I want to go visit it. We need to go to Massachusetts and visit all of our mass holes.
Mass holes.
That's what they call themselves.
Mass holes.
We have so many mass hole Patreons and listeners, and I would love to go do a show out there and visit them. Also, we need to go out east anyway to do some Salem witch trial sort of like things. But then...
Absolutely we do.
But I want to add this to the list. Provincetown, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I want to go to the Waida Pirate Museum and learn more.
And maybe grab a raft, do a little float.
Do a little float.
With a metal detector.
What do you guys think about piracy back then? I mean, that is...
It's, again, there are so many different documentaries that you can watch. And of course, we went through a period of time in the early to late 1980s, and probably a lot of it because of discoveries like that, where piracy became really like popularized and beautified. Don't forget that in 1985, one of the best pirate movies ever made, Goonies, came out.
Yes.
Which was clearly about, lost treasure. And I mean, it was about a lot more than that because it was about friendship. But still.
Right.
But still, I mean, it was just 1985, literally the year after that particular treasure trove was discovered. Different coast because Goonies was in Oregon, I believe. But still. And that's based off, Goonies is based off of a true pirate lore as well.
Right.
So I'm intrigued and enthralled by all of this. You just make me want to continue to research shit.
I thought this was fun, and I liked that Samuel Bellamy
was a good guy.
Yeah, was at the end of the day. I mean, he wasn't like, okay, he did give people an ultimatum.
I mean, he's a bit of a narcissist, but a lot of good leaders are.
Yeah, true. I know. Even still today, most definitely today.
And people love them and follow them. And if they don't, they're, again, Stockholm Syndrome,
But he really did go down in history of having a reputation of being merciful and gracious in a time where that wasn't very prevalent. So I appreciate
being
that.
able to be all powerful through intelligence and speech is profound to me, more so than walking up to the pirate of the ship, ship hull to ship hull and just shooting him.
Yeah.
This guy literally relied on his brains to de-escalate
Instead of his brawn and his black
and
hair.
he was so confident that he'd like, so listen, you and I are both smart men. You don't want to die. Your crew doesn't want to die. I just want what's on your ship. Join me.
And I've got a big ship. You're not going to beat me. So
That's right. Join me. I'm going to take
I'm
this.
fair.
And I'm so fair. I'm going to give you this little ship.
Yes. Yeah.
Stay with me if you will.
Exactly. Or, hey, how about the littler ships that they were taking over and just saying, join me. I'll split my booty with you. Right?
Right. I'll split your booty, Black Sam.
Black Sam, come split my booty. No.
Yeah, I can only...
I'm kidding.
I can only think of him as Jason Momoa now. So
Right,
yes,
right.
I want that to happen.
So there you go. There's an unusual, it's still a crimey case. We still stole,
There's theft,
but we stole,
piracy,
we stole
treason,
from rich people.
witchcraft. I love all of this.
All of it.
Charnell, would you like a brain bath?
I would.
Well, here's 10 headlines from 2023 that made us say, did I read that right? And it's from CBSNews.com.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I love when you come ready with a bath with me, for me.
What? Oh. Wild turkey terrorizing neighbors in Coon Rapids. Neighbors in Coon Rapids Mobile Home Park are battling with a bird. No. They say the lone turkey appeared in their park around Thanksgiving of 2021 and hasn't left since, becoming more aggressive as the months go on. This turkey has literally taken over our life, Coon Rapids resident Rachel Gross said.
I think he has a death wish.
Rachel said she lives in fear of going outside.
Oh my God.
Thanks to her neighbor, a wild turkey who seems to have taken a liking to her property.
Hold on. This sounds like a country town. Have you never seen a turkey? It's not going to hurt you. What's it called? Boonestown?
Coon Rapids.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was way up. Samsonite. I was way off.
Same.
Coon Rapids. You're telling me Coon Rapids has never seen a turkey?
Apparently not one that stuck around. I feel like somebody bought a live turkey around Thanksgiving to butcher it, and they couldn't do it, and then it became like rabid.
Yeah.
If a bird can be rabid.
I don't think so.
In December 20th of last year, this headline came across. Thousands of syringes containing vaginal tightening gel seized at MSP airport.
I have so many questions.
Wait,
Hold on.
Hold that.
There's a vaginal tightening gel?
Yeah.
That's what I gathered from all of that.
There is. And it's a short article. Customs officers at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport seized a large shipment of unregulated injectable chemicals last week. No. The shipment from Hong Kong contained 2,536 pre-filled syringes of vaginal tightening gel, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and it was headed to a Woodbury residence. Somebody
was a home? Just a home.
She's like, she was either entering into an illicit business or she was going to have 2,536 really tight days.
You know what? There are 365 days in the year. This averages out to be, she's clearly not married.
No.
Okay, so she's planning on having sex 236 times this year.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I don't hate all of this. I have questions.
That there's an illegal, unregulated vaginal tightening gel. And then I want to know, is it for insertion? Is it injected? Where do you put it?
It's in a syringe, and that's what scares me. Is it injectable? Because no thanks.
Well, but a syringe...
Is it topical? Okay.
Well, because a syringe doesn't necessarily have to have a needle. It could just be for insertion.
Exactly.
Oh, that was my chin.
It was. Your chin inserted into the microphone.
Yeah.
But, okay, I mean, I'm sorry, what town was this? It was a residence that was
Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. So it was headed to a residence in Woodbury, which I can only assume is in that area.
Woodbury, hit me up.
Yeah, right?
Kidding. I'm not quite there yet.
You and I, we're going to be just like this.
So tight. We're going to be so tight.
You don't even want to see the finger gestures we just made.
Oh, God.
Cougar spotted in Lowry Hill, struck and killed on Golden Valley highways days later.
Oh, for a second, I thought it was just cougar spotted. And I was going to say, I'm sorry, guys, I have to go into the public.
Well, we're in Minnesota. So, and this is still after the tightening gel. So now you have tightening gel and then a cougar. Minnesota
that tracks.
Minnesota conservation's officials say a cougar that was struck and killed in the West Metro was a young male that had traveled hundreds of miles. The incident comes days after a cougar was spotted roaming through the Lowry Hill neighborhood of Minneapolis. City officials on Tuesday said it was spotted again. They believe it was traveling on popular trails near Lake of the Isles. That one wasn't funny. How about this one? MRI machine.
It was scary if you live in that neighborhood, though.
They're in my favorite neck of the woods right now. We're in Wisconsin. MRI machine causes Wisconsin woman's gun to fire, shooting her in the buttocks.
Stop it.
Do you remember the episode of Grey's Anatomy where the woman used her smuggle spot to hide a gun and then she clenched and it shot through her abdomen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
A newly filed report by the FDA described an incident in a Wisconsin hospital where a woman was shot in the buttocks after bringing a gun into a room with an MRI machine.
Holy shit.
According to the FDA, the 57-year-old woman brought the concealed handgun into the room. The gun was attracted to the magnet of the MRI and it fired a single round which hit her in the right buttock.
Ouch.
I just feel like you deserve that.
You were shot by your own handgun. Do you think it was in her purse?
I think she was legally carrying in Wisconsin. And yes, and that it was either in her purse or wherever else she had it. And she brought it into a magnetic resonating imaging machine. I mean, for fuck's sake, lady, it's in the name. Do you have to post, please don't bring your firearm in here?
Apparently, yes, you do.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. To be shot by your own gun in your ass cheek when you were presumably having it in your purse. Let's be clear that I called it a purse.
Right, not a prison pocket.
Yeah.
Neighborhood in a peak after preening peacock pinched by Eden Prairie powers that be.
I can't believe you got through all those P's.
I am expecting a round of applause.
I think, if I only knew what button that was on our machine.
Fine. Jason would know. Some neighbors in Eden Prairie are crying foul after a pair of wild peacocks have taken up residency. If the peacocks were people, they're so popular, they'd easily become the HOA president. The problem, they're loud and sometimes confrontational. Same.
Yeah, they're kind of my spirit animal.
And I'm just going to leave you with this. Did an airplane drop poop over a Burnsville neighborhood?
Yes. The answer is probably yes.
Some South Metro residents say Friday, May 12th, was like any other day until some foul-smelling stuff fell from the sky.
Oh, my God.
Carissa Brown was waiting in the drive-thru line at the Caribou Coffee.
Her name is Carissa Brown, and poop fell out of the sky onto her.
Yes, but she's staying at one of my favorite Midwestern coffee places, or she's in the drive-thru line at Caribou Coffee.
Oh,
I love Caribou Coffee.
That is good.
Off Highway 13 and Cliff Road in Burnsville. I was waiting in line, getting my daily coffee, and all of a sudden, Brown dropped onto my vehicle, Brown said.
I feel like this has to be fake.
It was like it rained down for a second, boom, like that. I got out, I went to the car in front of me, and I was like, what just happened to us? And he was like, I have no idea.
Good reporting.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, I can get into the article in more depth. Let's see what...
do airplanes do that? Isn't it like...
Oh, my God.
Oh,
it goes on.
Okay.
Brown says her car and the vehicle in front of her were fully covered. Also, my child was with me, so I'm glad the windows weren't open, she said.
Oh.
Brown's child said, it stinked. It was poop.
It
stinked. It was poop.
Oh, my God.
Brown didn't see a flock of birds nearby, so confusion and repulsion reigned.
Yeah.
The odor was so strong that the woman who was handing me my coffee noted how much it smelled. She said, I mean, my cat had something similar to it this morning, so I've had a lot today of poop. Brown said the residential area is under a flight path. I had my A&P license. I went to school to be an aircraft mechanic, and I didn't know if there was even a way to release it mid-flight. So that's why I'm a little confused. I'm going to look into it, she said. Despite everything, Brown completed her transaction for coffee. It's going to take a lot between me and my coffee, he said.
I guess so. It's going to take more than an airplane full of poop
shit to
dropping
stop
on
me from getting my Caribou coffee.
Yeah.
The Metropolitan Airports Commission says they are not aware of any incidents evidence related to flight activity, Brown did some internet sleuthing and believes the culpable plane was a United Airlines flight to Denver. WCCO News reached out to United and got this response from their media relations department. No reports on this from our end. Oh, the hidden innuendo in that one.
No reports on this from our end.
We are also waiting back to hear from the Minnesota DNR about the possibility being the work of a large flock of birds. The end.
Bird poop and human poop, very
Brown,
different.
yeah, white. We've discussed how birds secrete excrement before.
They digest much differently.
Yeah,
Their
it is
diet's
not.
much different.
Much different.
Interesting. No one wants to take credit is what that is all about.
We don't know anything about it from our end.
From our end. That's like the no one wanting to admit they farted.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't me. Well, it wasn't
For
me.
sure.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
But one thing is for sure. Shit doesn't just fall from the sky. It does metaphorically in our lives all the time.
All the time.
But physically, actually, no. That is
With the day I was having the other day, it would have been my luck to walk outside and have a plain empty shit on me while I'm standing in my yard. Of all the places in the world.
With your mouth open.
Right.
You would have been mid-yawn.
In my 5-inch high heels and my gorgeous red dress, carrying my cute little Coach purse just covered in shit like the scene from Carrie with the pig's blood.
Yep.
That was me. That would have been
That
me.
would have been you. Yawning from your exhaustion of your shit day.
It was a day.
Yeah, and just get it right in your mouth there.
So,
Wow.
listeners, if you'd like to join Patreon and hear even more about the terrible things that happened to us
Right.
and about my shitty day,
Yes. Feel free to click the link in the show notes.
listen to the Brain Bath Only episode, and that's where we are.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, thank you so much for listening, everybody, and keeping us on air. And we hope that you
Keep it curious.
keep listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.